What's good, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Solace Akron here, and today I have the long-awaited second version of the viability ranking list. Though I see some of you looking online, I know you see my edits and my changes, so you've seen the 1.5s and the 1.75s, but I digress. We have a brand new list. We have a new king at the top of OU. But before I get into that, I have to talk about kind of some things that have come up and that are going to change my expectations of what I wanted for this channel and what you're going to have to expect for the first few months. Look, guys, I wanted to capture stuff and like do live streams and stuff, which would have been really cool. But the capture card I bought was from Roxio, and it sucks. And it's not that it sucks, it just doesn't work. I could not get it to work for the life of me. I tried everything to get it to work, and I just couldn't. So in the end, I threw the whole hunk of trash away. And so I'm out $80, and I don't really have enough to afford an actual capture card right now. One that I know will work or that's highly rated. And I want to live stream stuff. I don't want to just capture like what I'm doing, though that would be fun too. I mean, it'd be live footage, just wouldn't be like on the spot live, it's happening right now. But you would probably see my actual reaction to stuff, and there has been some very humorous things that have happened with Let's Go. So first of all, I won't be having a capture card. Second of all, training Pokemon in Let's Go is very difficult. So difficult that I'm gonna have to choose my team of 6 like immediately and just build that team, and it's gonna take me a month or two maybe to get that team ready. I mean, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculously hard. Like, imagine the original RBY in which you had to like get all the effort values on Pokemon, like 255, and they were very hard to get, and you had to get them up to level 100. Well, imagine that, but even harder. Because now there's like more IVs to worry about. It's a mess. It's really difficult. With that being said, let's get to the viability list. Yeah. And as you can see, there's a new king. That would be Eevee. And it's not really that like Eevee got better somehow, or that something fell out of usage or what. It's just that everybody's been using this. Every team I have seen uses Eevee. And every time I have lost with that RMT that sadly enough is no longer viable, and I'll show you why. There's one Pokemon in particular. It's Eevee beating me. Eevee is so good. That moveset of Sparkly Swirl, Sappy Seed, Sizzly Slide, and then Substitute is unbeatable. And there is room for changes and alterations and different variations of this. Instead of Sizzly Slide, you use Batty Bad. Basically does the same thing without having to cripple. You can do Freezy Frost if you don't have a Hazer. Bouncy Bubble to get even more passive recovery on Eevee. The possibilities are endless. You could use the Buzzy Buzz to paralyze Pokemon, though it's not as useful in this game. Honestly, when I first came out with this Pokemon, and we only knew of the first 3, the water, the grass, or the water, the fire, and the electric, it was not a very good Pokemon, but this thing has slowly grown to be not just a great Pokemon, but the best. Good enough that, this is why I hate that other Showdown server that has the Let's Go one, and I hate the guy that's running it, and I think he's a total idiot. And if you're listening to this, you're a total idiot, and you need to seriously, like, you need to get your head on straight. Okay, this guy has been talking about banning Sappy Seed on Eevee, so like complex banning Eevee to nerf it. Like, hello? Don't talk about banning one move on one Pokemon. That's a dangerous precedent, man. You could ban like singular moves on singular Pokemon anywhere. You could be like, oh well, Chancy with Soft Boiled is really broken. except that it's not. But you could, you know, like, oh, so we're just gonna ban soft boiled, like, or on Mew, like, oh, Nasty Plot is really broken, like, let's get rid of Nasty Plot on Mew, or a whole plethora of things you could do with that kind of power. Do not ban Sappy Seed on Eevee. That is dumb. You either ban Eevee or you don't, okay? That's what the conversation should be. And by the way, the very next video will answer, or at least discuss, that very question. On whether we think, or I think, or anybody else thinks, or why you should think about whether Eevee should be banned or not. And honestly, as of this video, I don't know. So that's why the other video is going to happen. There's just... It can set up substitutes on Pokemon like Chancy, which Chancy can't break, and other Pokemon can't break, especially when you burn them. It's extremely dangerous. And it basically can beat Venusaur 1v1 and Executor, the two Pokemon that are like, oh, that might actually be a check to this Pokemon. Not anymore. Sizzly Slide basically burns them and then whittles them down 1v1. Let's move to S rank, shall we? Let's quit talking about the king and talk about the bro, man. Mega Bro hasn't really changed from like my original prediction. It moved down, I think, in the first one. Now it's excuse me, back up to normal. Back up to S rank, because just looking at this thing and looking at the metagame in general, bulky Pokemon that have have attacks that can do damage are extremely useful. And anything else is pretty much either trash or unviable or not as viable. And this is the bulkiest of bulky when it comes to its defense. And after a Calm Mind, its special defense is not bad. And then after a Calm Mind, its attacks do lots of damage, especially Scald, which can land burns, which can get critical hits, and Psychic, which can lower Spadaf, making that damage do even more. And with Rest plus Eevee, Bro is staying around the whole game, guys. The whole game. It is very good. It is even able to beat stuff like Gengar after a couple of Calm Minds. You have to worry about Gengar, though. It's very scary, but not as scary as it was before. But extremely solid. Mew has gone up in viability, mostly because after I did my Mewtwo analysis, I realized that, you know what? Mew can do the same exact thing as that counter-breaking set of Bulk Up. This one. The Bulk Up plus Earthquake, Psychic, and then Roost / Taunt. Like, that's the same thing as Mewtwo can run, and it's even bulkier. After a Bulk Up, it basically, two shots Alolan Muck. Like... And then once Alolan Mug is gone, like, Mew can just rain hell upon everything. And so can anything else, like Gengar or Alakazam, which are really just, they're only held back by the fact that Alolan Muck is there. So, there's that. And honestly, I think that just Mew's versatility, its stall breaking set and its nasty plot set, it doesn't get rock polish. But it does have nasty plot. So we're here at A+ rank, and that's got to go to Mega Aerodactyl, almost S rank. Honestly, the only reason it's not S rank is because there are other Stealth Rock users, but this is the best one in the game. Him and Aerodactyl, getting up rocks almost all the time. And as I found out with Mega Aerodactyl is actually a lot stronger than I suspected. Honestly, when you have a Pokemon like this and you're basically out there for like, okay, I'm going to run, Taunt and Stealth Rock and Roost. Like, I'm not attacking anything. But honestly, Rock Slide does a lot of damage when it's Mega. Like, a lot. You paralyze Venusaur, you can flinch that shit down. It's funny too. It's like, and Aerodactyl's so fast and surprisingly strong that it gets off good neutral damage on almost everything. So do not underestimate this Pokemon as a lead. If it's Mega Evolves, it can destroy you. I mean, just watch it. Next, we gotta go to Alolan Muck, which despite falling on this list, quote, falling, because It's not the godsend that I thought it was going to be originally, because I thought originally Psychic types were going to dominate this metagame, and that Alolan Muck and Gyarados were going to be our only answers to the Psychic Onslaught, but there is no Psychic Onslaught. It's really there just to check Gengar and Alakazam, and its Mega variants. So, like, it really doesn't have that much viability, but at the same time, it can soft check Mew, it can soft check Slowbro to an extent, and it can beat like stuff like Executor, and it can get up Toxic and stuff. And I think you do need this on your team. It's one of those Pokemon you need on your team, like Mew, Aerodactyl, and probably some either Venusaur or Executor. You need them on every one of your teams, or otherwise you're going to lose. So you kind of do need Muck. It's still necessary for your team, and it's still very good. Next is Mega Venusaur, which Leech Seed is huge. Leech Seed is just so big in this game that Mega Venusaur has shot up in usage. Now it's gonna compete with Slowbro for Mega slots, but honestly, Mega Venusaur is amazing. And like, if you want to compare like which is a better combination, Mega Bro plus Venusaur, or Mega Venusaur plus Bro, honestly, I'd have to say that, I mean, I gotta say that the Mega Bro is just super good. It just gets such a big defense boost, like an incredible defense boost, and Mega Venusaur kind of just gets both. But Mega Venusaur is totally viable Pokemon to Mega Evolve if you see an advantage with it. I mean, it's great. But Leech Seed is just super good. Venusaur is really good too. Next, Mel Medal. Nothing really happened with Mel Medal. It's the same as before. I gave it a better offensive set. I put Thunder Punch over Superpower because it doesn't need Superpower at all to break stuff. If you're running into other Mel Medal, you better have another Pokemon to take that down. Mel Medal cannot beat itself. I'm just going to say that right now. Mega Gengar fell. Huge. And I'm surprised. I haven't seen a lot of it, and every single time I see it, it's totally walled by Alolan Muck every time. There's no getting around it. It just is walled. Now, when people find out better checks to Alolan Muck and Alolan Muck slowly falls, Gengar will move up in usage, and I'm sure eventually Gengar will be questioned whether it's way too strong for the tier. Not Mega Alakazam, surprisingly, but just Mega Gengar has such good coverage. Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, Mega Drain, and then Taunt, Will-O-Wisp, Toxic. I think it even gets Destiny Bond, and it might even get Curse. Honestly, really versatile offensive, and anything, and it can taunt Chancy and basically shut it down, so Chancy's not a check. The only check to it is Alolan Muck. Honestly, it's really good. It's got Mewtwo-like stats, as I've said many times before. So I think Gengar will have its heyday. It'll move. I think eventually it'll move back up to the top of A+ rank, maybe even S. But for now, it's where it is. It's just gonna stay there. Mega Alakazam continues to fall as people realize that Psychic plus Ghost type coverage is really only good for beating like a couple of Pokemon. And honestly, like, I've seen, like, I have Recover and Thunder Wave, but honestly, every single time I see Mega Alakazam, it's running Taunt, which is okay. And honestly, I guess you could run Taunt, but Recovery is so good on any Pokemon. How could you not have Recover? And if you lose that, then you would have to put Taunt over Calm Mind, and then Mega Alakazam has no firepower whatsoever. Like, seriously. What are you gonna run, Mono Psychic? Then you're walled by... Just... The problem with Alakazam is 4-slot or 4-move slot syndrome. Yeah, or whatever it's called. Yeah, 4MM or 4MSS. Yeah. 4-move slot syndrome. Yep. That's what it's called. It really needs to have Recover and Taunt, and Calm Mind, and Psychic, and Shadow Ball in order to dominate the metagame. But it has to give up one of those, and by giving up one of those, it's not as good. And honestly, I would rather use Gengar as a Mega. And honestly, I'd rather use Venusaur as a Mega. Or Mega Bro. Those are just better choices. Rhydon. You know, I haven't seen a lot of Rhydon, but it's still extremely good at what it does. And it's basically a big, like, roll compression. Like, it's a stealth rocker. It's a phaser. It gets Dragon Tail, by the way, and not Rock Polish, so you're not going to set up with Rhydon anymore, but you will be able to phase stuff out. On mono attacking Venomoth, it'll be able to basically wall that and phase it out eventually. Or at least Rock Slide Earthquake it until Venomoth runs out of subs and roosts. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. But Rhydon is probably the best out of the 3 rock ground bulkies, I call them. Basically because it's stronger than Onix and has Dragon Tail. It's not bulkier than Onix, but it's stronger. And stronger than Golem. Golem does not have Dragon Tail. And Onix has pretty pitiful attack, albeit really good defense. So they're all kind of the same. Venomoth has moved up slowly and surely just because I keep seeing it. And it's the stall breaker. And it's super dangerous. And honestly, it's one of those Pokemon that, let's say that Eevee doesn't have the Freezy Frost. And it doesn't have the Haze. After a couple Quiver Dances, oh, and excuse the typo there, bold nature. Honestly, you can run Timid on this too. I think it's bulky enough to do the same thing. But bold is definitely the stall breaking set. But yeah, after a couple Quiver Dances, Bug Buzz goes through sub, so sub does not help Eevee out at all. It just goes right through. So it can, if Eevee is not carrying Haze, which most of them aren't, it can break Venomoth sub. But let's say you get up a couple Quiver Dances, like, you're in business, and you can still roost on Eevee, and it's just a good time. Venomoth might be the one answer to Eevee, the one offensive check, now that I think about it heavily. But honestly, Venomoth still suffers from being weak to rocks, and it's got some awful weaknesses, as being a poison bug type is not very helpful in this type of metagame. But as a Quiver Dance user, and probably the best one, or definitely the best one, it's just super good, and I love Venomoth. I can't wait to build teams around it. And then you get to A, and you get the basically the non-Mega Evolved copies. Chancy fell. Let me tell you why Chancy is no longer as good as I thought it was going to be, despite its amazing defenses, and basically like screaming to be put on stall. And it's a stall metagame, so why is this not popular? It has very bad offenses. So bad, in fact, it is forced to run Seismic Toss. And because of the HP gains on every Pokemon, Seismic Toss no longer breaks substitutes. So stuff like Eevee can get up a free sub. Stuff like Venomoth can beat Chancy 1v1. Venomoth can beat Chancy 1v1. Not even Volcarona can do that. But Venomoth can in this metagame. So Seismic Toss being basically completely weakened by the fact that everything else has so much more HP is why Chancy has fallen. It really, I thought it would be bulky enough to not be setup bait, but it basically is big setup bait. And setting up in this metagame is super viable, super useful, and very rare. So honestly, Chancy fell far. Alakazam fell for the same reason as, Alakazam and Gengar. Honestly, their Megas are better, and, well, they're just suffering a lot. I would say Alakazam is better than Gengar because it is faster, and it's more viable without its Mega. Gengar kind of needs to Mega Evolve, though. You got Vaporeon is probably the best Haze user in the game outside of Eevee, but, yeah, so you've got that, and it's got some really good coverage options, but honestly, it's pretty good for stall if you want to use it. Amistar or Shell Smash, nothing has changed there. Nothing changed with Golem either. Cloyster, nothing changed there. I got Rock Blast. It does not learn Rock Blast. Very sorry. Mega Gyarados, not really much changed. Zapdos, now, I looked at Zapdos, I think even last time I looked at Zapdos, and when you think about it, it only takes 25 in rocks. That's actually pretty good for flying types, and it's got really good defenses, so it can easily roost that back off. And it's got some great offensive coverage with Sky Attack, Heat Wave, and Thunderbolt. You could do any combination of the moves on the screen and probably have a decent Zapdos set, so I'm keeping it in A. Executor moved up mostly because of Leech Seed and its ability to beat Venusaur that does not have Sludge Bomb. So there's that. Clefable fell, though I actually suspect Clefable will bounce back. It's just without Moonblast, it's just bad. Or sorry, without Moonlight or Soft Boiled, it's just bad with Rest. Honestly, really sad. And Mel Medal is just, people are gonna try it out on Wi-Fi. It's gonna take a couple months or a couple weeks before anybody actually has it, because it's really hard to get the candy for it unless they're good hackers. Yeah. Pinsir's still there. Dodrio, I've got it still in A-, but I feel like it's gonna fall. Drill Pack plus Jump Kick is really not good enough, and it really doesn't have any other good coverage outside of that. Electrode, I still have to make a Hyper Offense team that actually works. I have not gotten one to work. And, but it's really good lead. It does its shit. Like, exactly what I predicted. It gets up both of its screens and then explodes. Like, really great. I just need to find a Hyper Offense team that actually works. Lastly, Onix. I put Onix here because it's so bulky. You saw in the video it could live a Mel Medal hit. Like, that's incredible. Of course, some of my analysis is like, only Stealth Rocker in the game. That's not true anymore. But it's still a very good Stealth Rocker, and honestly unexpected, because people think that's like, oh, it's Onix. It's an unevolved Pokemon, you know? It's trash, right? It's completely unviable, and they try to go for like Earthquake on it, and it'll do less than 50%. They're like, what the fuck? Yeah, because Onix has 160 defense. Get out of here. Know your shit. But honestly, I don't really want to talk about the stuff lower. Mega Beedrill fell because of rocks. Moltres fell really far because of rocks, despite how great I think of a Pokemon it is. Ninetales fell, and Rock sucks. Mega Charizard's still really low. And I was thinking about it. Some guy did a comment about Megazard, like Megazard X specifically. And, you know, I was thinking about Megazard X. Like, even now with Stealth Rocks, like, wow. Actually, it might be a Pokemon I have to try out. And maybe move up in viability if I can get it to work. Because I was just thinking about it. Let's say there's no rocks. Charizard X comes in at 50%. And you use the bulky Zard X that was really common in like XY and ORAS a little bit. You can basically come in, set up a substitute on Eevee. You're not burnt by Sizzly Slide. You can't be leaf seated behind a sub. And you can just break Eevee substitute as it can't recover against you. Like, Zard X is faster. So faster bulky substitute users, which there aren't that many. I want you to look at this list. Maybe Venusaur could run substitute, but then so can Eevee. And then Venusaur really doesn't have a good way of breaking it because it's just not as strong. Slowbro is slower. Mel Medal is slower. Muck is slower. Chancy is slower. Rhydon is slower. I'm just looking at the stuff up here and just like... Mew is faster though, so Mew could set up a sub and probably break Eevee eventually, but it can get burnt, so that's a problem. But Charizard can't. So let me just say this about the OU metagame right now. Stealth Rocks needs to go. I don't care what you do with Eevee, but Rocks needs to go first before you make any decisions about Eevee. I don't understand why that is not going through people's heads. They see Stealth Rocks and they're like, oh, well, I guess it's just how the meta goes. And then they're like, oh, but Eevee is so good, it needs to go. Like, hello, it's an Eevee. It's got great moves, sure, but it's still just a slightly stronger Eevee than normal. And I think there are great checks for Eevee in the lower tiers. I think there are, you know, in the Pokemon that are quite not viable right now. You know, stuff like Moltres could come in at full. Do the same thing as Zard X. Go for a sub while Eevee tries to go for Sappy Seed. Can't even break the sub. Then it just fires off a Sky Attack and down goes Eevee or any other switch in. Like, but with Rocks being gone, Moltres can't. You know, with Stealth Rocks in the game, Moltres can't even dream of doing that. Lest it gets itself down to 25%. What a joke. Seriously, do not talk about Eevee until you have answered the Stealth Rocks question. And it is a question. Please keep discussing Stealth Rocks. And do discuss Eevee, because I think even when Stealth Rocks are gone, Eevee is still a problem. We gotta figure that out. We gotta decide right now whether it's good for this metagame or not. But that's a video for next time. For now, keep grinding inside the games. Let me know what you think of Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee. I kind of have mixed feelings. I think the early game is great and the late game really sucks. And the post game is just awful and like purgatory. And yeah, so that's all for now. Until next time, peace.